Hello.
All right, Mr. Geyer. Hello, and thank you for taking your time to talk about the innovation of BMW and to reflect on the current situation that Europe is in. Before we come into all those points, I think you had multiple that you mentioned in the key innovations of BMW. I want to understand, how did you find into the field of battery and e-mobility?
So I'm then more than 20 years at BMW. I
Hmm.
started in the area of production in plant Regensburg. And then I went through because I was in a kind of fast lane program and talent program. Then I also did my PhD in parallel at BMW. And so I found myself in the time when I finished my PhD at BMW with TU Dresden, when we kicked in the development for i3, i8, and the Mini E and this Active E Tourer that we had before.
Hmm.
And I was dealing with sheet metals and conductive heating with electric energy. So I was already in the big amperes I was already working with. And so I said, I think if I can do this, I should be able to do this as well. And back in the days, it was very rare qualification to have an electrical engineer.
Uh-huh.
So, and I was already onboarded at BMW and committed. So it was a win-win and a match. And so I began to contribute to the development of battery development within BMW back in the days when we just had the Gen 1. Yeah,
Hmm.
day one more or less. Yeah.
Oh, so what year are we talking there?
2009, 8, 9, yeah.
Hmm. So, and maybe we fast forward a little bit on the development. And where would you say does BMW stand today? And what is the key innovation that you guys provide?
So I think BMW is one of the leading companies regarding electromobility in the European competitive environment. There are some others coming from Asia, from Korea and
Hmm.
China, which are also very competitive, especially in price. But for the ones being established, I think we are really in a leading edge. We have now launched or are about to launch the Gen 6.
Hmm.
I am right now driving an i4 based on Gen 5, and I have to confess I have no wish. This is a very good car already.
Okay.
But the next level is really having a higher energy density, gravimetric and volumetric at the cell level, and also at the pack level. We now have also ability to charge more than 400 volts. 400 kilowatts.
Hmm.
And this all in an 800 volt system. This is not a fancy thing. It is already on the market. But I think the total package for the battery that I just mentioned and the propulsion and the charging, this is outstanding good. And yeah, the investment was heavy too, but and the effort to get
You're
there.
talking about the Neue Klasse right now,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I'm
Hmm.
talking about the
Just
Neue
for the
Klasse. Yeah.
listeners too.
The Neue Klasse. So this is our answer to the world on how to do purpose-built electromobility with an option for conversion for ICE.
Hmm. Okay. So if you would like to highlight a couple of innovations, you just mentioned a couple, but to dive a little bit deeper, to really bring BMW with their innovation to the forefront of e-mobility in the future, what are the points that you're working and innovating on?
Oh, that's a huge number of points because we are looking at the entire value chain from mining into the process technologies to get to the cells and the packs, but also, of course, the cars. And charging is also an enabler. And then closing that circular chain, recycling.
Hmm.
We have, for example, on this we have two competence centers right now. One is the battery cell competence center,
Hmm.
where we really from material up to cells, even big prismatic cells, but also the cylindrical and pouch and single layer cells. Everything is possible there. We can make in a battery cell competence center and not limit to chemistry.
Okay.
And this is more the product development, but we are convinced that product and process development needs to go hand in hand. So we also invested in a competence center called CMCC, Cell Manufacturing Competence Center, where we can do NMC, LFP, and solid state process development.
Okay.
And we are just about to invest in a direct recycling plant to close this loop, having for now direct recycling means you take the production scrap and bring it down to the materials that you need in your slurry to produce cells again. So this is our commitment at cell level, but there are also a lot of investigations on vehicle integration, charging, and so on. Yeah.
How do you see, if you want to talk about this, the cell production landscape in Europe? Do you think it will be a economically viable industry in the future, or would you say this is the components is coming from Asia there, and we will build the industry around the procurement of these cells?
I think we have a few players here in Europe which are, let's say, about to get market shares, but still competitiveness is in this world of trade wars and geopolitical tensions a very, let's say, a very ambitious goal. And if you look how others like Koreans and Chinese companies got into this market, there was also a heavy support from the state aid. And I think if Europe wants to be competitive with a European-based supply chain, may it be invested from outside of Europe or pushed the local players into the business. Subsidies are a key success factor for this.
Okay.
And another success factor is the scaling. We are very good at fundamental research. We are very good in the labs, but we fail to bring this to the fabs. And we just named these 2 competence centers. This is a very good investment. But even so, we are very aware of the processes to get the cells produced in the right way. The step from this competence center into a gigafab is still a huge step.
Yes.
Not only because of the investments, but also to really have a high quality cell with less scrap at the end of the line. That's a real challenge that needs to be overcome. So it will be more or less both. We need to raise our plants that we already have, the players, but we also need to be open to world-leading companies to invest in Europe, but in a way of combined with the vertical integration. So a long-term strategy needs to be applied for the investments to come to Europe to increase the resilience, to have a spillover in know-how, and also to have a, let's say, in a global scale, viable battery manufacturing landscape in Europe. Yeah.
So I think the vision that you sketch out there is promising, and I think it's absolutely needed from resilience point of view, from an autonomy point of view, speaking about Europe as an ecosystem. And now the question is, how do we get there? And I would like to ask you 3 questions that I ask every participant of this campaign to really get a multiple perspective on the same matter. And the first one is, what do you see are the challenges and the bullet points that are holding us back building this European-driven industry? If you should name a couple of examples, like pinpoint what is the challenge here?
Let's start with materials. So we need to extend the already existing materials to get raw materials, but we also need to have new agreements. And the countries outside of Europe are willing to cooperate with Europe because they don't want to rely on a volatile US, but also are more or less done with China, and they want to have Europe as a partner. So this is something, increase the commitment to existing agreements and have some new ones. This is one thing. We also need to look at a kind of talent pipeline. We need to have universities that provide us talents for the labs. We need also to have this more hands-on experience to drive the factories, and therefore it's not limited to a talent pipeline coming out of Europe for Europe, but also to be attractive for talents to come to Europe. And there's a lot of work to do because, for example, in Belgium, if you are a very good expert in like, for example, cell development, it doesn't matter which sector you're coming from, but your family has very hard restrictions to follow you as an expert into this country. And as long as this is not solved, this expert will not appear here in Europe. And every region has its own regulatory framework regarding this. And we need to be more open. So Ursula von der Leyen said it as well. We need to be the choice number 1 for talents. And okay, this is so raw materials in talents. We need, of course, innovation. R&I is a key and has always been a key for the automotive industry, at least, and for Europe.
Yeah.
But I think we are not too bad at it. But what we also need is a regulatory framework that boosts the industry. And as we say, a regulatory framework, which is saying that there's kind of a corridor for the industry to go to. We not only need a framework to go to, but we also need support mechanism to get there.
hmm
And I think the ambition from the industry, talking with each other instead of over each other, and all the things I just named, this could be a kind of success plan for Europe. Yeah.
Yeah, sounds like a little bit the sketch that I drew back then for building this campaign, because my hypothesis was we do have the competence in Europe, and that's what I was seeing in my previous role as a managing director of the electromobility laboratory in Aachen. But really need to communicate better on an operative level and to team up as one team. So my question is, to frame this positively, where do we have the competences already that we can leverage? What is the potential in Europe that allows us to be optimistic? You said it, right? To be more opportunistic.
We have to be optimistic, and we also need, when I say regulatory framework, it's not only to deploy and implement companies and plants.
Yeah.
We do have competition compliance and antitrust law, which leads to the people don't talk to each other within a company, but we need to talk about within sectors. So this is something we really need to overcome as Europe to get together. And if we don't manage to overcome this, then we cannot talk about a success factor. So I think this collaboration along the entire value chain is a key success factor or a key ingredient for the success of the deployment of this value chain.
Yeah, this already sounds like the answer to my last question I asked everyone. The call to action, right? So is this your call to action to really build the communication?
Yeah, and it's not only the entire value chain to collaborate. It means industry, politics, and scientific as a kind of troika have to really. We need the innovation pipeline. We need the deployment strategy. Deployment means also support from government, but also commitment from industry. And then this could be a kind of success story, and hopefully it will be. And maybe on the regulatory framework, if you look at it, because you somehow said, what's the way forward? Looking back in the 80s, when there was this Euro regulatory, if we would have applied the rules of Euro 7 back in the days, we would have all failed. But over the years, we improved each other. We build up based on R&D technologies that are world-leading, world-class, but also very competitive. It takes time. You need to do it step by step. You need to do it along the abilities of the industry, and also from politics, it needs to be adjusted on the abilities there. So once on the support mechanism, but also on the regulatory framework to be applied, like recycled content, local content requirements, and so on. This needs also to be to fit together.
Yeah, and as you said, it's a step-by-step development. It's a long path. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon. And to have the endurance to push through. I think you said hard times will pass, but tough times will pass, but tough people will last, right? So I think that's a very nice quote that I would like to quote you on. And if I get the opportunity to meet you in Munich to showcase like which innovation BMW is providing firsthand through a visit, I would be delighted to do so.
Happy to see you there.